Hey guys, welcome to Cooking with Red. Today, my name's Alex. I should start with that. I'm Alex Maroselli. I'm the Director of Configuration here at Red Argyle, and I'm joined by our fearless leader, Tom. You want to introduce yourself?
Hello, I'm Tom Patros, Founder CTO here at Red Argyle, and Alex, myself, and Shannon, who's hiding behind the curtain, thought it would be a really great idea to start making videos in the spirit of Julia Child cooking show episodes. So we don't have our hats on, but we are going to bake you a community today, and we're going to put some CMS topping on it and try to throw in some weird accents and French words on the way. So
bonjour on that note.
There we go. Check that box.
Perfect. So essentially what we're going to do here, everyone, is we're going to kick it off by, I'm just going to show you our community. So in a second here, we're going to show you how to leverage CMS, which is a newer feature from Salesforce. I think it came out in the winter of 2020, if I remember correctly, right? But it's really powerful. You know, being on the configuration side of things, I love anything that can be easily, you don't need code to go ahead and change the context, the text, anything like that. So it's fairly easy to leverage. So here's our homepage. So at the end of the day, what we're going to do is we're going to add a new item to our CMS collection here that then someone on the external world can go through and just easily sign up for your webinars. And we're going to do this all with CMS and a little bit of flows and all that in between. All right.
Perfect.
Now, here, let me stop sharing, Tom.
So let's talk about CMS a little bit, and I'll get my screen on here. I'm going to get good at this by the time the show's over.
I know.
Here we go. All right, so in your Salesforce org, there is a new app. I guess not a new app, but it might be new to you. If you search in your apps, you're going to find CMS Home. So this is the Salesforce CMS functionality. It's there. It's free. It's waiting for you to be. It was waiting to be used by you. Currently, it is accessible also by Salesforce communities. It's what is referred to as a headless content management system, meaning that it's just content. So there isn't really a lot of structure that Salesforce CMS or other headless CMSs in the same pattern follow. They just give you a space to define your content, add fields to it, fill them out, pick pictures, do all the usual stuff that is true content management. And then the application of it starts to surface in things like communities. Rumor has it that's also going to happen in Marketing Cloud and other external services that can basically consume the content as if it were data. And it is at the point, as we'll see in the community, where we apply the style, the layout, the collections, that sort of thing. So think of it as the dumping ground of your words and pictures, and then we're going to turn it into something that looks really good when we start talking about the community. So if I click into CMS Home here, CMS has a notion of workspaces. So those are places where we can essentially group content. And then there's a notion of an experience. Salesforce communities are one of those types of experiences, and there will be more of them to come in the future. If I were to create an experience here in CMS, it'll walk me through a wizard that can say, well, what kind of experience do you want to create? Surprise, it's me creating another community. We're not going to do that right now because we've already done that. So we'll take a look at that in a second. If I were to create a new workspace for where I want my content to live, I could say my next workspace and type it very poorly, step through this, and it will ask me, well, what channels do you want this content to relate to? And I can see, lo and behold, our community is here again. I'm going to take this up to the very edge, but not actually pick it, just so you can kind of see how this process works. It also lets me pick the contributors, who's going to be providing, editing, and publishing content. What languages do I intend this content to be used in? This establishes translation functionality. We won't go through that today, but that sounds like another great video topic down the road. I better pick just to step through this really quick. We'll pick a default language, even though we're not going to do that. almost there. If I were to do this, I've got a new workspace, but if in true Julia Child spirit, I'm just going to pull this out of the oven, and here's the workspace that we're using for our presentation today. So there's not much here, but again, the CMS is headless. It's just the content. It's the relationship to a channel that actually makes the CMS content do something for you. In and of itself, I'm just here managing content otherwise. I also have pre-baked one of these webinars that we're going to be doing in our imaginary company called Red Rayon. No relationship, of course, to other textile companies that you may know and love. Shannon's going to be putting on a session about the benefits or the challenges of cotton and polyester and why rayon is clearly the winner of all of them. So what I'm looking at here is just raw content in the CMS. We've actually defined this content as a type of content within our CMS. So whenever you're working with CMS, you get a few content types out of the box. News is one of them, just a basic title, subheading, body, but you can create your own types of content because not all content looks the same, right? So the webinars, in our case, they look a little bit different. They have some additional fields that we want to collect. So if I go back into my workspace and take a look at one of my webinar records here, we have given it a title. I think you're going to have a title on all of your CMS content. If you don't, that's kind of weird because what are you describing? It's the basis of all content is to tell you what it actually is. The description, this could sometimes be interpreted as the body, or this could be interpreted as an abstract or a summary of the content that you're describing. In this case, we're using it as an explanation of what the webinar is. We can choose media types for within our content types. So I added a feature image field. It lets me pick the kind of the hero image that will represent this content when we see it in the community. And then finally, we have a sign up form link, which we haven't filled out quite yet, but we'll do that later. And we also have a date and a time for the event. So on August 14th at 12 p.m., tune in for the great debate of textiles and why rayon is truly the winner. And then this notion of a content slug, this just comes along with CMS. This is really a unique identifier that if you were to publish this content and had a URL as a result, that content slug is going to appear in that URL. I don't know if we'll see that in the community today, but again, another topic. I add that to my list of 13 topics now that we can add for follow-up videos here. So if I were to edit this, this should look very familiar. I'm creating a new draft because I technically already published this, but let's pretend I didn't. Content types in CMS are really very much like custom objects that you may be familiar with in Salesforce. I just happen to say, I now, instead of a custom object called webinar, I've got a custom CMS content type called webinar. And I'm just going to tweak my camera a second. Hi, I'm back. There we are. So I edit this as I would a normal record in Salesforce. Larger text areas become rich text, so I can do HTML in here. That's pretty standard. Image or file picker is standard, similar functionality to picking an uploaded file in Salesforce. Dates and times, all of the things that you're familiar with in terms of editing a record is very similar to editing content in CMS. Version history. So if you're familiar with Salesforce knowledge, this may be a small leap for you. It's a similar preface. I've got a draft until I publish it. I can apply business process around those drafts until I'm ready to publish. So it's not simply save and it's available to the world. It's save, publish, and now we're actually live. I could make many changes to my draft while the published version remains out in the world. And if I needed to, I can also archive or even delete my content. So this is headless CMS or Salesforce CMS in its essence. I'm making content, and Alex is going to show us how to take this otherwise content over here on an island and put it out in the world for everybody to get really excited about this rayon webinar that's coming up.
You guys don't even know. And let me bring this back here. And
I'll turn off and you can turn on, Alex.
All right, here we go. All right, so we have our new handy dandy CMS content. Thank you, Tom, so much. So now I'm going to go back into my community, and essentially what we want to do, right, is like we have a couple webinars going up because we're really busy. as you are in our textile industry. And essentially what we want to do at the end of the day, right, is we want to add it to our homepage of our community, right? So you can see we have one here, and we're going to go ahead and add another one. So where I'm going to do this is I'm actually going to go back here. I'm going to start from the beginning. So if folks are not aware, if I go back to my workspaces, this should look familiar, right? This is kind of your landing page for the community in the back end. But what I'm going to do is come here to my content management, and I'm going to click here because obviously you may have guessed CMS stands for Content Management System. We shockingly want to come over here. So you'll see here, essentially, here's what Tom just created, right? You can see there's our working with Rayon, how quality impacts your end product. So what we want to do is come into our collection of our upcoming webinars. So we want it to be on that carousel on the home page, right? So I'm just going to click in here. You do have the option, I'll walk you through in a minute how if you wanted to create a brand new one, how to do so. But all I'm going to do is come here, click edit. It's so easy. You're going to put this little plus button and hit save. So now we have our two content collection options, or both of our webinars will be available on the homepage. You have some options here. You know, if for whatever reason we're like, we are really excited about our working with Rayon, how quality impacts your end product webinar. It's going to come here. You can move it up. You can move it down. You have some options. And that's it. Not too bad, right? If I come back to collections and make us all dizzy, it's so easy to create a new one. You can have as many as you'd like here. And you can come in and all you're going to do is create a new one. I'll just do a new collection. You just click CMS content. You can, as you see here, you can add it manually. If you have some conditions that you want to automatically add, you certainly can. But let's walk you through the manual for right now. And you see we have one left, which is our background. So I'm just going to plunk that in here and just hit finish. And that's it. Not too bad, right? So now if I go back here and click on my builder. Wow, magic. And it's right there.
Looks like we need a picture for working with Rayon. What do you think? I gotta go. Should go check out maybe I can find a picture of some Rayon here.
I want to see back.
maybe I can fake a picture of Rayon and we can all pretend that it's Rayon. Let's see here. Actually, here I'll steal the screen back for a second.
Yeah, here you go. You show them how to add that.
Let's go find a picture and add it to our already published content, and we can see that automatically the update will just occur when we publish a new version of our webinar about working with Rayon. So I'm back here in the in Salesforce, back in the CMS. Found my webinar, and I'm going to come back in and add an image here. Shannon behind the curtain has provided me with an excellent photo of what I can only assume is spools of Rayon. It must be, clearly. And now I can save that again, save it as a draft and continue working this, but I feel extremely confident that this is the best, single best image of Rayon. So I'm going to go ahead and publish this right away. And we can publish that. And I assume, with a little bit of a drum roll, if I stop sharing and Alex, you share again and refresh your screen, we should have.
Yeah, let me push this. I'm here. I'm gonna refresh. Here we go. Here's that drum roll. Thinking. Oh, hold on. Drum roll still. Oh, ha! There it is.
Wow, look at that. That is amazing. Alex, do you think it's helpful if you do a quick dive into the CMS Collection setup in the community?
Yeah. Good.
So, what would you like to do that, or?
I can take a crack at it if you want.
Yeah, take a crack. So the whole point here is, of course we've got this. This looks great, and how how do we make the things, the words and the pictures and the actions and the dates and the times show up where they show up in CMS? It seems like voodoo or magic or whatever else is happening under the hood that causes these things to show up. So maybe you can show us how to map these things.
Let's put on a magician's hat. Guys, we're just pulling on all sorts of hats here. So as you may know, I should say that with all the communities, right, you drag and drop your components in. So let me show you how to do that. Let's start from the very beginning. So essentially all this is here is a component, right? So I come in and you'll see here we have all these different options. So this one right now, it's just a drag and drop, which if you're like me, that's one of my favorite ways to set up a community is drag and drop. You're just gonna plunk it in and that's it. So I'm just gonna delete this one so we can work on this guy here. So if I click on this, what you'll notice is we already have our upcoming webinars collection available. If we are having any other promotions or anything like that, you can always come in and change our collection right here. You don't need to do that right now. But you'll notice we have all these different other options. So first things first, this is showing me my collection layout. So you can have it as a grid. I'll just show you a couple options. You can do like as a true carousel, and you'll notice how it changes a little bit, etc. I'm gonna go back to our grid format. And you can play with these. You can spend a lot of time doing so. Raise your hand if you're guilty of that. A lot of fun.
I'm glad you were able to make a decision on 18 versus 19 point font, Alex.
Oh, it's still
well done.
Midnight, Tom. I can come here and you notice like we only have 2 upcoming webinars, right? So this is currently set to 3. So if I wanted to change that, I can bring that down to 2. It makes it a little bit prettier, right? Or a little bit more consistent across the board. And you can go through, you can go do all sorts of goodies here. And you'll notice this is where I can set my title for upcoming webinars. If I want to say, hi, please attend, we'll say upcoming webinars, but it's so easy to change that right then and there. Whoops, that sort of thing. So I'll just go back to upcoming webinars. People attend. You can have view more if you had more than 2 here. This is a view more option. I'm going to hide that for right now because right now we literally only have 2, but you could have more down here. And that's pretty much it. So this is just for the collection themselves, okay? So now I can come here and I can control what is showing, what text is visible right on top of the image. And I do so in this content layout. So if I click this guy, again, you're going to notice very similar option to what we saw above. I can show this as like a tile. I'll show you guys that. So essentially you can have the image up top and then just some text below with the dates and all that fun jazz. The same thing with a card. I'm going to go back to the banner just because it looks a little prettier, in my opinion. And then you can completely control what information is showing in these boxes as well. So as Tom showed you a couple minutes ago, you have you could able to fill in all sorts of things like your button and the links associated to it. The date of our webinar could show that here as well. If I didn't want to show that, simply uncheck. Not too bad, right? So this is where you can control what displays here, but you can also show down here my different mappings. So again, looking back to what you were just working on within the CMS content section itself, I could say, you know what? I don't want my title here. I want to show the description. Doesn't look as well as you can see with HTML formatting, but that's essentially what it looks like. So you do have some options here. It's designed to be completely and easily configurable for you as well. You can get completely lost in the sauce, as Julia's Child would say, I'm sure. Going through all these different options too. You have different button styles. Again, I won't go spend too much time on this, but there are so many options here that will allow you to configure this to exactly what your brand needs.
So you can really see the progression, the CMS in Salesforce. Again, I keep using this headless. It sounds terrible, but it's this headless CMS. It's content with no design, right? It's content with no structure even. The only structure that we're imposing in the CMS is literally boxes of text or otherwise to put values into. And it's in the community where we actually tell that content what it should look like and how it should behave. The power here is that content now isn't bound by how it needs to look or behave. It's simply being told by its consumer, in this case, the community, how it should look. If I were to use this exact same content in, say, another community, maybe I've got a partner community that people log into, and I don't know, it's already got a completely different style to it. I can still create upcoming webinars, or I can call them, super cool meetings that we're having in the future about Rayon to my partner audience. I can make the reds blue. I can't pick different pictures because I've already committed to them, but I might have a second image on my CMS content type that's called the partner image. And I could then map that image instead of the feature image, which we've used so far. So we can manage audiences, we can manage structure and design, and we don't have to be forced to decide those things when we first create our content. This is really going to, this can liberate an organization who has people who are focused on producing great content from those who are focused on producing great design. And then even we haven't talked at all about those who are focused on making great tech. As Alex has shown, this is just out of the box.
Yeah.
At Argyle, we do all the weird stuff beyond this that could make these things look even cooler. Maybe you want videos that run when you lay a mouse over the image. We could certainly do that. That's not exactly out of the box, but because of the way the content is structured and the data is structured, we have a ton of flexibility here to do whatever you want. And to me, this is one of the most powerful, new features of communities that we're running into. And Alex, you're on a lot of projects at Argyle that involve communities. Have you, what's your sense on the uptake of CMS, and how is it really changing the way that you all are designing and implementing communities now that it's available in your toolbox?
Yeah, it's completely changed the game. I'll say that. Most recently, I've been working with a company on developing a partner community. And essentially for these folks, they have some technical folks, on staff. However, they have a lot of non-technical folks who Salesforce using that is that's right at their level, and it's great. But CMS really allows them to have the power to go through and say, I want to easily add content, or I want to change some text on a page. They don't need all of that technical background to be able to do that and contribute. So it's completely transformed the way that we are structuring our projects. And we're really able to leverage this to transform how our builds are. And it really strengthens, I think, the power of communities. And this has definitely become, I think, a key part of our builds from here on out. I think it's completely changed the game.
Awesome. So I know we had some other features. I wonder if we should save them, and I can add those as the 16th and 17th video options down the road. We talked about maybe using a flow for the registration. I think we just do that. Let's do another clip for that. And then maybe there's also there's a few other topics that came up. We could put our chef's hats on another time and roll those out. And in the meantime, we'll we're here to answer questions about all this nerdy stuff at any time. This is a super exciting community space that's and changes that are going on in the platform with this. So stay tuned for more.
Thanks, everyone.